The cafe was alive with the usual morning hum, the soft clinking of cups, the hiss of steaming milk, the low rumble of conversations mixing with the scent of roasted coffee beans. Sunlight spilled generously through the wide windows, illuminating faces filled with laughter, chatter, and life. Yet amidst this cozy warmth, there was one corner of silence, heavy and unspoken. A young woman stood behind the counter, dressed in her simple gray uniform. She moved with quiet precision, her eyes lowered, avoiding contact with anyone who looked her way. The air around her carried something different, not the carefree rhythm of the cafe, but a weight that pressed on her shoulders, as if every step she took came with a reminder of something she wished she could forget. She was the waitress no one noticed unless they had to, and when they did, it was often with a frown, a whisper, or a stare. But on this particular day, a little girl noticed her in a way no one else ever had. While others saw a waitress with tired eyes, the child's gaze cut deeper, past the lowered head and timid silence, into something far more profound, something hidden that the world had overlooked for too long. Before I take you deeper into this story, let me pause for a moment and ask you, if you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the power of seeing people for who they truly are, then please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel, Kindness Stories. Your support helps us keep sharing stories that remind the world that compassion can change lives. Her name was Emily. She was only 24, yet life had aged her far beyond her years. Once she had dreams of becoming a teacher, of standing in a classroom with children who looked up to her. But dreams, as fragile as they are, can shatter in an instant. She had fallen in love at 19, trusting a man who painted her life with promises of forever. By 21, she was a single mother, abandoned, judged, and left to raise her son alone. In a small town where everyone knew everyone else's business, her story became gossip. She wasn't Emily, the bright girl with a future anymore. She was that girl who made a mistake, and mistakes in the eyes of people who never forgave became her only identity. The cafe job was all she could find after being turned away from other places where whispers followed her. Every day she tied her hair into a neat bun, put on her apron, and wore a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. She served coffee to people who looked past her as if she were invisible, and carried trays to tables where voices softened when she passed, as if her presence was something to be hushed. The hardest part wasn't the low wages or the endless hours. It was the shame she carried, a shame that wasn't entirely hers but had been planted in her heart by others. That morning, Emily was serving at the counter when a tall man walked in, holding the hand of his little daughter. His name was Daniel, a quiet, single father who had known his share of pain as well. His wife had passed away years ago, leaving him to raise their daughter, Lily, on his own. Lily was only 6, a child with bright eyes that saw the world in ways adults often forgot to. They sat down at the counter, ordering simple breakfast plates. Emily placed the plates before them, her eyes still lowered, her voice soft. She expected the usual, polite silence, maybe a quick thank you, and nothing more. But as she turned to walk away, Lily's small hand shot up, her finger pointing directly at Emily. The cafe seemed to still for a moment. Daniel, startled, looked at his daughter with confusion, embarrassed by her sudden gesture. The other customers glanced over curiously, waiting for what the child would say. Emily froze, the familiar flush of shame rising to her cheeks. She lowered her gaze further, bracing herself for the sting of a child's innocent but cutting words. Children, after all, often repeated what they heard at home, and she had endured enough cruel comments masked in innocence to know how badly they could hurt. But then Lily spoke. Her voice was soft yet clear, carrying across the counter with a purity that pierced through the air. "Daddy," she said, still pointing at Emily. "She looks like an angel who's just really, really sad." Emily's breath caught in her chest. For the first time in years, someone had looked at her and seen not her mistakes, not her shame, but her soul. Her eyes lifted, meeting Lily's innocent gaze, and in that single glance, the wall she had built around herself trembled. Daniel blinked, caught off guard by his daughter's words. He looked at Emily properly for the first time, truly seeing her instead of just another waitress passing by. And what he saw was undeniable. Tired eyes, yes, but behind them, a kindness, a fragility, a quiet dignity that life's harshness had not destroyed. Emily, however, quickly turned away, trying to compose herself. She wasn't used to kindness anymore. The cafe returned to its hum, but something had shifted in that moment. For the rest of their breakfast, Lily kept stealing glances at Emily, smiling softly each time their eyes met. Emily, though shy, felt a warmth she hadn't felt in so long. It wasn't romantic, not yet. It was something even deeper, a reminder that maybe, just maybe, she was more than the shame she carried. Days passed and Daniel and Lily returned to the cafe again. Each time Emily noticed the way Lily's face lit up when she saw her, and how Daniel offered a polite nod that felt more genuine than the empty stares of others. Slowly, small conversations bloomed. Comments about the weather, questions about Lily's school, even a smile or two shared across the counter. For Emily, these moments became a lifeline. But behind the quiet exchanges, her struggles remained. She still worked double shifts to pay rent, still went home to a tiny apartment where her little boy Noah waited. She still felt the sting of whispers when she walked through town, carrying groceries while people murmured. She still lay awake at night wondering if she would ever escape the shadow of her past. One evening, after another long day at the cafe, Emily found herself in tears at home. Noah had asked why they couldn't have new shoes like other kids, and she had no answer. She kissed his forehead, promising him things would be better, though she didn't know how. It was then she thought of Lily, the innocent little girl who had looked at her and seen an angel. The memory of that moment gave her a strange strength, a reminder that not everyone saw her as broken. Weeks later, something unexpected happened. The cafe hosted a small community night, inviting families to share food, music, and conversation. Emily dreaded the event, knowing how out of place she felt among the polished smiles of others. But she went, because it was her job. She served drinks quietly until she felt a gentle tug on her apron. Looking down, she saw Lily standing there, smiling up at her. Without hesitation, Lily reached up and hugged her. Emily froze, her heart aching in disbelief. No one had hugged her in public like that in years, not without judgment, not without whispers. Daniel approached quickly, apologizing for his daughter's boldness, but Emily shook her head, tears in her eyes. "It's okay," she whispered. "It's more than okay." From that night, something began to change. Daniel and Emily spoke more often, their conversations slowly deepening. He learned about Noah, about her struggles, about the way the world had judged her. She learned about his journey as a single father, about the nights he had cried alone, about the challenges he faced raising Lily. They understood each other in ways few could. And then came the day when Daniel surprised her. After another breakfast at the cafe, he quietly slipped an envelope across the counter. Emily frowned, hesitant to open it. Inside was not money, but an application form for a teaching assistant program in the city. "You always wanted to be a teacher, didn't you?" he said softly. Emily's hands trembled. She hadn't told him that. It was Lily who had asked her once why she always looked at books with such longing, and Daniel had remembered. Emily's eyes filled with tears. She had buried her dreams long ago, convinced they were beyond her reach. But here in her hands was a chance to start again. It wasn't easy. The journey was filled with challenges. Late nights studying, balancing work and motherhood, fighting the voice inside her that said she wasn't good enough. But each time doubt crept in, she remembered Lily's words. She remembered the way the little girl had looked at her and seen an angel when no one else did. Months later, Emily stood in a classroom, her son Noah proudly watching from the back, Daniel and Lily smiling beside him. She had done it. She was no longer just the waitress who looked down in shame. She was a teacher, a mother, a woman who had found her voice again, all because a little girl had seen what the world refused to. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Stories. Your support helps us spread these messages of hope, love, and second chances to more people around the world. And before we end, I want to ask you something special. Drop a comment below with the words, "I believe in kindness," if you too believe that seeing the good in someone can change a life. Emily's story is a reminder that sometimes the smallest voices speak the loudest truths. Sometimes all it takes is the innocent eyes of a child to remind us that no one is defined by their past. And sometimes, what the world sees as broken is actually something waiting to be healed.